All right, so we see here we have Sophia from Hungary. We have Mena from the United Arab Emirates. We have Samyuka from India, very nice. Esther from Ivory Coast, nice. Hannah from Singapore, very nice. My mother's name is Hannah, very nice. Okay, beautiful. So and we have more people, great. It seems like the system is working. So let's do the following. So let me start with a quick overview of where we are now and what happens next. And then I would like to devote more time to you and maybe add you as panelists to our session here. And I would like to hear from you. I have a few questions prepared for you in terms of your experiences, but also maybe you have some recommendations, maybe you have some questions, some concerns. So I'd like to be, to turn it into an experience sharing session rather than just me talking. But first, while everybody is gathering up, a quick update as to where we stand at this time. So officially, we are almost done with the project, but we still have a few things to do. So you already have submitted your final reports. You have submitted your final peer evaluations and all of those things. It's done a long time ago. We have now evaluated all of the reports. We are still waiting for a few sets of evaluations because we had some teams or some reports that were evaluated, let's say, by 3-4 professors, and there was a big difference in evaluations. Some professors loved them and some professors didn't like them. And so I invited a few more professors to evaluate those reports one more time so that we can break that discrepancy, so that we have an additional independent opinion so that we can finally give the grade to those reports. And if everything goes fine, I should have them by the end of the day, so basically by tomorrow. So then once we have all of those evaluations, all of that, so here is what will happen. Sometime on Monday, tomorrow, we will finalize or select the finalists of this competition. And so what that means is that based on the evaluations of the reports that we have so far, we will select about 5 to 10 best teams for each of the companies. And then there is a award committee comprised of several professors, a few coaches, and a couple of company representatives. And they will look at those finalist reports and will select. Usually I'm asking them to select one best report for each team, for each company, but sometimes there are multiple reports that are really, really, really good. So it's possible that maybe for some of the companies, there will be maybe 2 winners. We even had a few cases when we had 3 winners for some companies. But we have over 1,000 teams this semester. And so we have 13 to 14 companies. So we expect basically 1 per company, 14 teams to win the competition, but it's possible that there may be a little bit more depending on how the awards committee will decide on it. Then in parallel, we have read already your reflection papers and have the feedback on that. And then the video presentations from the X-Culture Kids teams, and then some university students also submitted the video presentations. We have those evaluated as well. And so we will have the feedback ready for you hopefully in another day or 2. And at that stage, we should be ready to send you your final certificates and recommendation letters. Although, again, we will still see, we are trying to organize a live presentation of the best teams. So once we know which teams are the best, so that the best teams can still present live to professors, coaches, and obviously the company, the client companies. So sometime this week, if everything goes fine, we will select the winners. All of you will receive your certificates. All of you will receive your performance evaluations, a few pages of basically feedback on your performance, how you did, what you did, how your performance compares to that of other X-Culture students this semester, and some words of advice moving forward. Then your recommendation letters. Again, we used to not send recommendation letters unless requested, but because everybody asks for them, so now we send them by default. Again, it will be a document of about 4 pages, and again, it describes in detail what X-Culture is, what you did, how you did it, what skills and experiences you have acquired, and then obviously a few words of review of your performance, and then a little bit about your reflection paper, a little bit about your video presentation, and obviously the recommendations. So if you did well, in the end, it will say that we recommend you for projects and tasks and jobs that require teamwork, international experience, complex problem solving, business consulting. There will be a few students who didn't do very well, and their recommendation letters will be basically negative. We'll say, I cannot recommend this person, but it's a very small percentage, and we always have a few people like that. And it is what it is. So if they didn't participate, we cannot recommend them to similar projects, because if they couldn't do it well this time, we are afraid they may not do it the next time. But in any case, most of you will be getting very good performance reviews and recommendation letters. Then in addition, those of you, if any, who are on the winning teams, you will also get a separate certificate and a separate recommendation related to commenting on you winning the competition. I did request that the awards committee kind of pays attention to the fact that we have some participants who are young teenagers, and then we have some who are experienced professionals, and then obviously we have university students, including graduate students, MBA students, master's students. Normally, we do not differentiate too much. Like, there is no separate award or category for like best young team, best old team. So we try to have only one category, winner of the competition. But when we do that, I do ask the awards committee to sort of pay attention to the age of the participants. And so if we have, let's say, among the finalists, a couple of teams that did almost the same work, but one is a young team and the other one is much older team, I kind of ask them to be more favorable towards the young one, because doing that quality of work for someone who is 12, 13, 14 years old, obviously that means much more than when somebody who is 28 did the same quality. So, but again, it's not an exact science. Sometimes these things are, how should I put it? I don't want to call it subjective, but I wish you all tried to select the winners. I mean, there will be a lot of teams that are really good. There will be a lot of teams that get perfect evaluations from the professors. There are many variables at the play. Sometimes a team has very, very good ideas, but did not present the report very well, so it doesn't look very good. And sometimes it's the opposite. The report looks very, very nice, but maybe some of the ideas are not as strong, or maybe one idea is good, but then the rest of the ideas are bad. What I mean here is that some of that evaluation is to some extent subjective. And that's why we have a panel of the selection committee. So it's several professors and several coaches and several company representatives, and everybody gives their opinion. And so that gives us some reliable estimate of who really is the best. Because if you take two people, it would be very unlikely that they would agree. So meaning that your choice may be team number 25 and somebody else's choice may be team 36. But when we ask 10, 15 committee members, and then 8 of them say that one is better and 5 of them say that the other one is better, I suppose that already means something. So, but that's basically where we are as far as what's going to happen. Again, I hope and will do everything possible that you get all of the documentation by the end of this week. But if something goes wrong, which always is possible, and by wrong I mean maybe there will be still a few teams that need additional evaluations, maybe there will be some questions from the committee and awards committee, maybe there will be some other little things that we need to take care of. So it may be a little bit longer before we have all of the final evaluations. Because as I said, we're still waiting for the final evaluations of your reports. I think we already have all of the evaluations of your reflection papers and the videos if submitted. But again, I still need to take a look and make sure that everything's in. But that's roughly where we stand at this time. And now I would like to add you to the panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all of you as panelists so that you can talk. And then I hope you all have microphones and all can talk. And maybe we can then share some experiences and maybe talk a little bit more about your experience. If you cannot talk, if you don't have a microphone, or if you're traveling and you're listening, just mute your microphone. So this way you will not be, we will not have your ambient noise, and it's okay if you cannot talk. But I'm hoping that there will be at least some of the students willing to share your experience, answer my questions. And again, if you have any additional questions, you will be able to ask them live. Again, if you are not able to talk and you want to ask some questions, you can just type them in Q&A. I will be able to see them, and this way I will be able to answer your questions. But I hope that at least some of you are comfortable talking so that we can share a little bit more experiences here. So question number one, let's see if you have the microphones and video. So if you can talk with me, all you need to do is unmute your microphone and activate your video so I can see you. and then just introduce yourself. Tell me who you are, where you are. Like I see, for example, Esther is here. Esther, can you briefly introduce yourself? Tell us where you are. I thought I had your video stream. Don't be shy, guys. Switch on your videos. So go ahead. So that's one of those rare opportunities when we can talk. So don't be shy. So I see Esther. So tell us where you are, who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I think your microphone is unmuted. So you need to unmute your microphone. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm an Indian, and I was born and brought up in Africa. So like I've grown here all my life, and now I currently live in Ivory Coast.
Okay.
I'm a teenager.
Very multi-continental. Very nice. Okay, we'll get back to you for your experience in a minute. Fiona, I see you have your microphone on, your video on. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Fiona. I'm from Singapore. I'm in high school as well, and it's my first time doing X-Culture.
Very nice, very nice. And we had obviously university students from both countries, so very nice. I see more people here. Let's go in the order that you appear on my screen. So I see Sophia. Sophia, where are you? Did I tell you that my daughter's name is Sophia too? So yeah. So where are you? What's your location?
I am in Hungary.
In Hungary. Very nice. Okay. Very good. Salim, where are you located? Your microphone is muted. You need to unmute your microphone. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I'm from South Africa.
South Africa. Okay. Very nice. So we have everybody's from somewhere else. I hope I pronounced correctly. Huyen, right? Trang. So what's your location? Where are you?
You can call me Hannah.
Okay, Hannah, okay. So what's your location?
I'm in Singapore.
Singapore as well. Okay, very nice. We've had so many meetings with Singapore this semester. Just like you had clients for your projects, companies. X-Culture was a client for one of the universities in Singapore, Singapore Management Universities. They have a course on business strategy and creative thinking. And so they made us a client, and we're trying to help X-Culture to sort of simplify our workflow. And so I had to have multiple meetings with them, you know, to talk about X-Culture, answer their questions, and then listen to their presentations. So somehow we were probably like 15 times online with Singapore this semester. So I know by heart, for example, that it's 10:14 p.m. in your time zone. So by now I know that for sure. All right. Samika, is that correct pronunciation of your name? Where are you located?
I'm from India, in Samyukta actually.
Very nice. And what city in India are you in?
Bye.
Okay, got it. Okay, very nice. Then Janvi, I hope I pronounced that correctly too.
Yes, it's Janvi. I'm from Mauritius. I'm from Mauritius. Sorry, what?
What country are you in again?
From Mauritius.
Mauritius. Okay, very nice. Okay, got it. Very good. Alicia, what's your location?
Hi, I'm from Mexico, and this is my first year in X-Culture.
Very nice. Okay, Mexico. So we have pretty much all of the continents. Oh, we don't have anyone from Australia, right? So anyone from Australia or New Zealand? So, okay, well, we have quite an international crowd here. And I'm not sure, Alan, Elizabeth, we have a few more people also watching. Let me add them here. So I'm not sure if you guys can talk or not, but since we don't see your video, I assume you cannot talk. Oh, Elizabeth. Okay, why don't you introduce yourself as well?
I'm also from Mexico.
From Mexico, very nice. Okay, that's not too far. Well, it is kind of far, but still closer to me. And then we have another Sophia. What's your location?
Yeah, I'm from Canada.
From Canada, very nice. What city in Canada?
From Montreal, it's in Quebec.
So you're East Coast. Yeah, I spent 7 years in Calgary, the other side of Canada. So
yeah.
Very nice. All right, well, a few questions that I have for you guys, and I'm curious, you know, how X-Culture went for you. So maybe briefly tell us what countries you had represented in your team and how things went. You know, did you have any challenges? Did you like your team? Were you able to accomplish the project relatively easily, or did you experience any difficulties? So kind of in general terms, describe how things went for you in the semester in general. So who wants to go first? Anyone? Oh, don't be shy. Raise your hand. That's your opportunity. So Sophia or Esther, you were the first ones to join, so I'm going to pick on you. So which one wants to go first? Come on, don't be shy. All right, I'll go with Sophia from Hungary. Sophia, so what countries did you have represented on your team? And can you briefly describe how the process went for you? How did you communicate? Did you use any special tools for communication? Did you experience any difficulties? And if so, how did you handle them? So tell us about your team.
So the other Sophie in the call was actually my teammate.
Yeah, in a few minutes.
And we had a girl from Singapore, from Australia, from Mexico.
So you had Europe, Asia, Latin America. Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
And so generally, did it go well? I mean, were you able to complete the project no problem? Or did you experience any difficulties?
We had some difficulties in the video calls because we couldn't hear a girl from Singapore that well, so that was difficult. Yeah.
What did you use for communication? How did you communicate?
We used Instagram and Messenger.
Messenger, Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, very nice. And then did you use any of the special tools like Dropbox or Google Docs or anything for the file sharing?
We used Google Docs and also Microsoft Teams for recording the presentation.
Yeah, I hear a lot of good things about it. Haven't tried it yet, but it seems like it's a good tool. And who was your client again? What company?
Nomad.
Nomad. Oh, that's an interesting company from Colombia. Yeah. So, okay. Very good. Very good. All right. Good to know. Who wants to go next? So Salim and then Samika. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So we chose, our client company was One More Day. We actually did, I think we done a very well prepared report. My teammate is on this call, Fiona from Singapore. And we had also a girl from Poland, Azerbaijan and Russia. We all communicated quite well over Skype. The thing with the time zone wasn't so tricky with us as we all just planned it really well. We all got along really well. So we had some fun doing the whole project.
Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that you all got along very well and didn't have any big difficulties. But I'll tell you this, when you have to do a project like this as part of your job, I think most of the time it will not be as smooth. Most of the time there will be someone on the team who perhaps, misses meetings or maybe doesn't get well along with the team. So you were lucky and I'm happy for you. But that's a rare occurrence. Most of the time something goes wrong.
We did have
any challenges? I mean, everything was good, or did you experience any difficulties?
We did have certain challenges when it came to understanding certain parts of what was required for us, or like especially when it came to recording our presentation and submitting it. We had a really difficult time because we almost missed our deadline because it didn't want to submit because of the data or whatever. But other than that, I think we competed it really well and we had some fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that all went fine and you didn't miss the deadline. So, but yeah, that's one of the, part of the experience. Very nice. Okay, great. Somebody else, Samika, you were raising your hand as well. Tell us about your team, please.
Our team had 7 members and Alicia has actually joined us from Mexico.
Okay.
And we also had countries like Ukraine, Poland, Azerbaijan, Singapore, Jamaica.
We had a very multicultural team. Okay. Were the cultural differences a problem at all? Like, would you say that you had different, I don't know, traditions or customs that were a problem?
There was some language. Suppose we mainly communicated to WhatsApp, and there was some language problems. Like they spoke English very differently. Everyone.
Well, again, part of the experience. And what company was your client?
ICCM, Institute of Cross-Cultural Management.
Oh, they have a very special sort of type of question challenge. So not many teams chose them, but yeah, okay, good to know. Yeah, all right, okay. So what kind of difficulties did you experience and how did you handle them?
Mainly, we had difference in opinions of some of the ideas we had for the market analysis and where ICCM wanted to expand. So we decided to present our ideas and vote on it.
Uh-huh. How did it work with the leadership in your team? Did you have like a formal leader on the team where everybody was equal, or did you have an informal leader? How did you coordinate yourselves?
So me and Alicia were actually formally elected leaders.
Ah, so you actually had an election?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay, nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, we are doing a study now trying to understand if teams that have leaders, if they perform better than the teams that don't have leaders. And so far the results are mixed. So it seems like it does help when you have a formally elected leader, but some teams don't have a leader and still do pretty well. So not a simple, story. Okay, very nice, thank you. Anybody else wants to share kind of general impressions? Don't be shy, raise your hand, tell us about your team.
Okay, so
yeah, Esther, go ahead, please.
Okay. Actually, it was really good. A suggestion that I would give for like future teams would be that you should like at least make like a base like friendship when you're starting, because like that really helps in like teamwork and motivation. It motivates the team because like when you become friends, you're always constantly like talking to each other, so it reminds the people to like work harder so that everyone gets happy in the end. So like I think friendship really helps the team to like grow, because like my team really like that was like our base, so like it really helped us a lot. So like I think that will help a lot of teams. Yeah,
this is very wise advice. We actually are conducting a study as we speak on the importance of kind of getting to know each other. And so what we did was when Xculture started 10 years ago, at that time, we didn't give any time to get to know each other. The first week, the deadline, the first deadline that you had to meet was basically a business deadline. You had right away select a company and start working on the project. And then a couple of years later, we added 1 week when people get to know each other. And then the rest of the time they work on the project. Then for a long time, we had 2 weeks when people have to meet, or can meet one another, get to know each other, hobbies, music, whatever else. And only then they start working on the project. And then 2 semesters ago, we pushed it up to 3 weeks. So out of 8 weeks, we had 2 weeks when people were trying to get to know each other. And then they had 5 weeks to complete the project. And so what we found was that when you give no time for people to get to know each other, things don't go very well. Even though they have more time for the task, but they don't know much about each other as a person, as people, as friends. And so that doesn't really help much at all. 1 week to get to know each other is better than 0. 2 weeks are better than 1, but then 3 weeks, actually things start going down. So it seems like if you give people too much time, there is little time left for the task itself, so you don't want to push it too far. And so at this time we have sort of 2 weeks to get to know each other, because the first deadline is Thursday. It's all about, establishing contact. The next deadline is the end of the first week, and that's when you basically acquaintanceship, getting to know each other. And then by the end of the next week, all you have to do is just select the company. So essentially you have 2 weeks before you even start working on the project. But then again, we have some people, some professors who believe that that's too much time and that people should start working on the task right away. And so again, the data suggests that it's very important to spend the time, getting to know each other, acquaintanceship phase. But again, there is some tension with that. But I'm glad to hear from you that you spotted that issue, because yes, it's very important. It's a whole different dynamics when you know who those people are, when you like them, when you see them as friends, as opposed to when you just simply see them as 2 words on the screen and basically, sort of coworker that you don't know anything about. So good to know that. So that's a very good advice. Moving forward, we even think that maybe we will add some sort of, like icebreakers and meet and greet games for that first week. So not only we'll tell people that, go and find out as much as possible about one another, but we will prepare some activities, some games designed to help people to become friends. So we'll see how things go, but that's the plan for the next semester. All right, anyone else?
Me.
Yeah, go ahead, Alicia. Go ahead, please.
Well, I think that of knowing about each other the first 2 weeks is okay because even though at the first weeks we couldn't talk like that much because everyone has so much things to do and we were not able at the same time every week. However, in the past of the weeks, we were talking more to each other, and I found that even with some that we have a lot of interest in common with the music, with the movies, and I really like that we have this friendship. And also, I wanted to add that we also have this issue with Singapore. We have a teammate where when we have the meetings, he couldn't attend because of a problem with his country. I think it was Zoom, if I don't remember correctly. Yeah, I think it was that. Well, he couldn't attend to it because of this issue.
Yeah, I want to pick up on that first thing that you said, that again, you talked a lot about music and hobbies. At the end of the project, if you remember in the final survey, there is a question where we specifically ask how much you as a team talked about things not related to the task, such as music and movies and hobbies and I don't know, cars and whatever else you may like. And one thing we found is we call it variable team chemistry. So like, you know, if you have a positive chemistry, I'm not sure if it's the best word. And so one thing we found is the teams that do spend more time talking about things not related to the task itself, they actually do better. And we don't really know why. I mean, technically they're wasting time. They could have been talking about the project and instead they talk about movies and hobbies and TikTok and whatever, you know, you watch these days. But actually it seems like it does help with the creativity and the actual report. So again, I don't know how we can encourage students to spend more time talking about those kinds of things. But we do know that teams that take the time to talk about fun things, they actually do better on the project itself. So go figure. Yeah.
I think the performance is better because you do a stronger bond and you see the trust, and that's why you like encourage you motivate to work better because you know that person. And lately recently I saw a video about this, and specific is because it's like how to say about it, getting a praise to our brain with the dopamine.
Right.
When you do something good, you get a prize and things like that, basically. Also, you were going to.
Well, I wanted to say that one theory also is that in teams in general, but especially in global virtual teams, online teams, so-called freeloading or free riding is always a problem. So there is always somebody who is not actively participating in the project. So the whole team is working and one person, sometimes even two, may not be contributing much. And so one theory is that when you get to know people at the personal level, so when you know their hobbies and you talked about movies and you talked about, I don't know, whatever, you know, things you may be talking about, you all of a sudden develop this sort of a sense of obligation, a sense of respect. Like now that I know Alicia, I mean, how can I not show up for the meeting? How can I not do my work when she's my friend? She's like, you know, I feel this sense of kind of social obligation to my team, and that reduces my probability of freeloading. Whereas if we never had a chance to meet, if it's only, as I said, like 2 words on the screen and I don't really know who that person is, then it's easier for me to be less responsible, less diligent, sort of, you know, pay less attention to that team and that person. And so one of the reasons the teams that do know each other at the personal level, one of the reasons they perform better could be because they have that sense of kind of reciprocity, sense of, you know, respect, obligation to one another. And that spills over and actually leads to better results when it comes to the task itself. But you wanted to say something else, Alicia?
Yeah, it's just to retake a topic that you talked like a few minutes ago. It's about the formal leadership, formal elected leader. I think it is really essential for a team because in the beginning, we believe we as a team didn't need it because at at the beginning, where everyone was so participative and we all talked and everything went cool until starting the project and people were like, oh, I have classes, or oh, I didn't have time, or some things came
Right.
out, and that's when we split the team in researchers and organizers. Each one had like a leader but wasn't elected, but I think it wasn't such a good idea. So like, I don't know, when we were working at the section 2, something like that, we decided to do an elected leader, and that's when Sam and me got elected. And I think with that decision was pretty good because it got more fairness and the deadlines were more respected and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. And yes, in teams in general, but especially in global teams like yours, coordination is very important and very difficult too. And so, again, we still don't know the answer if it's always better to have a leader, but it seems to me there is someone who is kind of doing all that coordination. It does help because otherwise it may take too much time to, to essentially coordinate your efforts. So that makes perfect sense. I have a question for everybody. How did you divide up the workload? What I mean here is that I know that some teams usually divide the workload by the question of the report. So they would say, for example, Sophia will do marketing, and then Esther will do market analysis, and Samika will do HR, and then I don't know, Vlad will do logistics. Other teams divide the workload by function. They will say, for example, that I don't know, Janvi will be the team coordinator, and Esther will be the copy editor of the document, and then Vlad will do some online research, and then Alicia will do the graphics because she's very good with graphics. And so this way, everybody sort of works on a different function as opposed to a different section of the report. And then obviously there are all kinds of other ways to distribute the workload to decide who does what. How did it work in your team? How did you sort of divide the work that needs to be done among the 5, 6, 7 team members that you had? Anyone?
Oh, hello.
Fiona, go ahead, and then John B.
No, it's okay, you go first.
Yeah, go ahead, Fiona. So how did you guys coordinate the workload distribution?
Oh, so for us, what we did was we met up every week, and then we would like start with section 1 for that day, and then we would divide up the section 1 and assign each person an equal amount of work. And then we would work on it over the week and review it the next week, and then start in section 2.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay. And so did it work well for you? Did it in the end give you the result that you wanted? Like, do you wish you did it differently, or that was a good approach?
The one thing that I wish we did differently was that we refined it earlier, because we did a lot of the rough work. We were like, oh my god, this is so easy. And then towards the end, we realized that how much of the formatting and the citations were so important. And I think it's just because we weren't very experienced as like some people. So it was just a learning process. And I think that it was just an interesting thing to go through. But otherwise, it worked really well.
Okay, good to hear that. And I think Janvi wanted to share. So how did you divide the workload in your team, Janvi?
Yes, so at the beginning, we actually stated our weaknesses and strengths. So basically, like this, we were able to divide. Sorry, what?
Strengths of each team member?
I cannot hear you.
Weaknesses and strength of the team members, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's smart. Okay.
Each. And then we would see who can actually do the research part and the coordinating and editing and everything. This was the best way for us to actually complete all the tasks.
Okay, that was very smart that you had that discussion in the beginning. Who's good at what. Many teams don't do that, and obviously, that leads to suboptimal distribution of the tasks. And I see Esther is kind of nodding. Is that what you guys did as well?
No, I just found that really smart, and I'm just keeping that in mind for next time, because that was very smart.
Okay. Now let me ask you this question. So imagine that you have a time machine and you can go back in time. You can press a button and boom, it's March 1st and we are back at where we started. would you do anything differently? Like, what would you do differently if you had, like, if you wake up and it's all been a dream, but it's actually March the 1st and you just got your team assignment, and so you have to do it all the way again from the very beginning? What would you do differently? Anyone? Yes, Chua, please go ahead. And tell us where you are. I think we didn't have time for your introduction, so tell us your location and then tell us about what you would do differently.
Hi, so I'm Guang Rong and I'm from Singapore as well. And I think one thing that I would definitely do differently is, number one, to have a formal system of election for you to get your group leader, because in my group, a very prominent issue was that at the end of the day, we didn't have a formal elected leader. So in the end, when there was some kind of disagreement, everyone will just be awkward over there and then we'll wait and see how it goes. So in the end, I had to step up and start organizing everyone to do what they needed to do, and ensuring that there was a level of cohesion and there was a level of unity in the team, so that we know what everyone else is doing and how we're progressing forward. So to do that, I started taking down the meeting minutes for all of our meetings, which will help every day, every Saturday or Sunday night, and then start posting it and delegating the work. So I think that in the future, by having an elected leader, it'll be much easier for the team to organize itself and ensure that there's a clarity and cohesion within the team to ensure that the team can perform better.
Yeah, very wise. One student told me that because everybody wants to be the team leader, what helps is that if you don't call it the leader, but instead call it like the team coordinator, for example, or team schedule keeper or something like that. And so in that case, it sounds a little bit less cool. And then everybody says, okay, well, he can be the team coordinator. Because when you call it a leader, everybody says, oh, I want to be a leader. I'm the best one. And then you have a little additional tension. So, but yeah, that's a very good advice. Okay. What else would you do differently?
I think it would be good for us to have a timeline at the very start.
Can you say that again, please?
Oh, sorry. I think that in the future, if I were to embark on this program again, we should come up with a timeline during the very first meeting.
Yeah.
So have a plan.
For anyone. So you always want to have a timeline and you know where you stand, and because no matter how much time you have, in the end, you always wish you had a few extra days to finish up everything. So it happens every single time, including for me as well. So absolutely. Anything else?
I think that's all for me.
Elizabeth, what would you do differently? Elizabeth, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead if you can hear me. Yeah, unmute your microphone.
Yeah, sure. What I would do differently is probably read the documentation really well, because if you read really well, you do get a more, how do I say this? Like, you know exactly what you have to do when you search your resources well and everything. When you read everything clearly, you know clearly what to do. So that would be my advice for future global visual team members, because sometimes the text is so much and you don't read it. But if you don't read it truly, then when the time comes to actually check if the report is going well, how the quality is going, then you're going to miss a lot of stuff out. That was one of our mistakes. But so if I could do it once again, I would probably read all the documentation through.
Yeah, and that's a very, very good, advice. It's true. So it's so much work and so many little details and so many documents. And one of the reasons we have so many documents is because there are a lot of details that we need to cover. So we thought about maybe condensing it all to 1 or 2 pages, but then in that case, you will not communicate all of the little nuances and details. But then, when you end up with so much paper, sometimes people think, well, maybe I will not read it. I'll figure that out as we go. And in the end, it sometimes takes more time to figure that out on your own than if you just sit down and read all of the instructions and all of the descriptions. So that would be a very good approach. Yeah, I agree with that. And again, I know that sometimes my emails and sometimes the documents we prepare are very long and boring. But again, it's a complicated task. And so we have to provide all those details. And so that's why it's sometimes so long and boring. Okay, very nice. And since we started talking about the advice for the future generations, so we will do X-Culture again in August, and there will be a new cohort of X-Culture students your age. So what words of wisdom would you share with them? So if you were their managers, mentors, coaches, advisors, what will you tell them? What would you say they need to do in order to do well when their time comes to be in your shoes? Samika, go ahead, please.
So I would advise them to take advantage of the applications that are available to them. For example, Google Document and Trello, which actually we didn't utilize initially, but it was really helpful later. And initially we had some coordination issues, but that really helped us. And we could edit it together. So that was also very helpful.
And this is a very, very good advice. Many teams rely only on email or maybe WhatsApp or wherever they communicate, and they do not use those more advanced tools, which is kind of unfortunate because the reason those tools are so popular is because they really do help. And so one of the reasons in XCulture we don't have our own platform is because we want you to learn those free tools so that you can use them in the future, your jobs. There have been calls for us to maybe develop some sort of like an XCulture platform where you log in and where you share documents, where you communicate with your team. But again, the problem with that approach would be not only it would be difficult to develop a platform like this, but also when the project is over, you cannot use it anymore. And so the reason we would like you to use Trello, as you said, Google Docs, Dropbox, is because those tools are here to stay and you can continue using them for school, for university, for work when you do it. And so we really would like you to learn how to use them. And many students, many teams actually do use them, sometimes for the first time, sometimes it takes time to learn how they work, but then they use them and like them. But some teams apparently prefer to stick with email only, and then they send the attachments back and forth, and then end up with like 25 different copies of the document. Nobody knows which one is the latest. So definitely that's a good idea to use those more advanced tools for this. Okay. What other words of wisdom would you share with the students next semester? Anyone? Yes, Esther, go ahead, please.
Okay, I would suggest that like they take advantage of the time that they have at the start for like the section submissions, because like one thing my team didn't do was like we were very chill at the start because like it was super easy at the start. So like taking advantage of that time would help like minimize all the sleepless nights that you're gonna take at the end of the report. So like submissions can still go on, but like along with the submissions, like checking through to check like if you can just add that into your final report would be very,
Yeah, that's a very good advice too. Yeah. There is one more question. I was kind of hesitating if I should ask it or not, but I'm kind of curious, and it was a unique situation this semester, so I need to ask about that. COVID-19, so this whole pandemic, coronavirus. So I know that probably most of you had your school moved online. I know that many of you were not allowed to leave home, and we've never had anything like this, obviously. So can you share with us what kind of restrictions you experienced, and was it a problem for your team or not? Did it make it much harder to work on the project or not? So tell us how that impacted you this semester. Fiona, go ahead.
So yeah, so I'm from Singapore. So we had this thing called circuit breaker, where like almost everything was shut down except for essential services, and basically we have no school. I've been like at
You had
home.
no school, or you had school online?
Oh, sorry, I don't have physical school. I have online school.
Okay.
Yeah, and with online school, I think it made the XCulture process a lot easier because my commitments were like significantly reduced, and I could just log off and then go and do XCulture stuff. So I think a lot of the surveys implied that the XCulture process would be negatively impacted by COVID, but I think it really helped because now I have so much free time and I can start like investing my time into the XCulture project like a few weeks ago.
So you think that it actually might have helped? I see that we have more applications for the next semester, and we don't know why. That's because we're just becoming more popular, or maybe because of that COVID-19 and online education, all of a sudden XCulture kind of looks like a useful skill to have. And so more people are interested. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of thought that this whole craze, with COVID-19 will hurt performance, but it seems like actually didn't have a much, a huge impact. So, but anyway, anyone else? What kind of experiences you had? Were you stuck at home? Did it help? Alicia, how did it impact you?
Well, in my case, I didn't. If I before the COVID, I didn't have so much free time. Now, because of online school, I have less free time. It was really overwhelming because in my case, in my school decided every day we need to take the 9 hours of school we took before, and also we are now in exams, and they every assignment per each partial in my country, the SEP um, give this law that the online school must be like 80% more with more contact than before, because we don't want to lose the semester. So every assignment I have give us a project and at least 10 homeworks per partial. And I like, oh my God, because also I need to do this thing of I had to do this thing of culture, and everything is coming on for me because I also, I have to work out because I am one of the selective in the national in my country for fencing. So I have to divide a lot my schedule, and it's like kind of stressing.
Yeah. Well, my hope is that Xculture, being online and when students participate in it, that it may even prepare students a little bit more for the school itself, because it sounds like many countries will schools in many countries will stay online in the fall semester as well, or whichever hemisphere you are in, so next semester. And so my hope is that maybe some of the skills that you gain through Xculture will actually be also useful for your education in school. So we'll see how things go. There are a couple more things that I want to discuss. We are almost out of time. I don't want to keep you here too long. One is the coaching program. So normally we invite to the coaching program only the students who are a little bit more mature and older, usually the former MBA students. But this semester we had an experiment where we had a couple of teenagers, students from the Xculture Kids program, who participated in the coaching program. And they actually did pretty well. So in fact, they had an easier time connecting with some of the younger participants in Xculture. And so we will probably be inviting some of you to join the coaching program next semester. Again, you may need to be teamed up with a more mature coach or student or professor, but we thought it would be a good experience for you to, having been now a member of a team, to now experience sort of the other side of the barricades and being sort of a manager of a team, or a coach, a mentor, advisor. And again, some of the challenges that the coaches deal with sort of require some life experience and maybe some life wisdom. But again, if we team you up with a more senior, older person who will also help you as a coach, we thought it would be a good experience for you to try to help teams, deal with the issues they have, difficulties, conflicts, coordination issues, maybe provide feedback. So this would be an interesting experience for you, but also when the time comes for you to go to college, we thought it will look good on your resume. So when you can say that not only you went to school and got good grades, but you also completed this international assignment in a team with people from all around the world one semester, and then next semester you actually were the advisor, the coach, the mentor, the older brother and sister for the new generation of Xculture students. We thought that would be a good thing for you to have on the resume, so that when you apply for stipends, for scholarships, you have a better chance of doing that. It's only by invitation, and we'll look at your performance records. So basically, we only want people who did well themselves to be in the coaching program, but at least some of you will be getting the invitations for the next semester. And so if you would like to give it a try, some of you will have that opportunity. So we'll see how things go. And obviously, if you go into the coaching program, you will also have to receive some additional training. So there are 16 training modules that you have to complete, and you will have to take several tests to prove that you're ready. So there will be training on things like how to provide effective feedback, how to resolve conflicts, cross-cultural communication, a little bit more of international business itself. So we want to make sure that when people come to you for an advice, you're properly prepared and you can help them. But again, it tends to be a very good experience, and most people your age don't have that kind of experience. So again, the hope is that when you will be applying, going to college, applying for scholarships, when they will look at your resume, they will see on this resume something that nobody else has. And so this will improve your chances of getting in and getting a stipend. But that's something, you know, to be on a lookout. We will start sending out the invitations probably sometime in a couple of weeks. So after we wrap everything up, after we have all of the final results, after we know who did well, then we will start sending out those invitations. Another thing we want to do, and here I almost would like to hear more of your questions. I'm not sure now or later, but I get a lot of questions from students your age about college. So applying to universities, applying to colleges, getting stipends, scholarships. And so one thing we want to do this summer, and we haven't done it in the past, but we have a lot of things to say, and that is organize a series of webinars where we will sort of share. The professors will invite different professors, different speakers from different universities and countries, and ask them to share with you some tips and suggestions on how to get into a good college. I know a lot about how the system works in Canada and the United States, but I don't know much about, for example, Asia or Europe even. But then we have some professors in those parts of the world, and they may know a little bit more about how the system works there. I went, for example, to high school in Germany, and I remember that it was a very complicated system. Like when they apply to colleges, it's a little bit more different and difficult than in the United States. But because I went only to high school and not university, I never quite figured out how exactly it works. So we will need to invite somebody else to talk about Germany and the Netherlands and maybe some other countries. But again, I'm curious, one, if this is something that would be of interest to you, and two, if you have any specific questions or maybe recommendations for how we can help you more with advice and guidance, going to colleges, getting stipends. So again, I'm not sure if you want to say something now, or maybe if you have some suggestions or questions, just email them to me. But again, one of the plans for this summer is to organize a series of these sort of webinars. And so my hope is that it will be useful for you, because my understanding is that most of you will be applying to colleges in the next couple of years. And so you might want to hear some of these tips and tricks and advice and suggestions for how to maximize your chances. Another thing that I also should have said, and honestly, I don't have the final answer on this one, but something that I would like to just let you know, an update, the X-Culture Symposium. So as you know, we organize twice a year. We organize the X-Culture Symposium, where we invite the best students for a face-to-face meeting. And so the last one we had was in San Antonio, Texas, in the United States. It was in November of the last year. And before that, we had a big one in Canada, in Calgary. So we have usually about 150 students in the summer, and then we have about 50 students in the fall. It's a slightly different type of event, and the one in the fall is more for people who would like to become scientists, and the one in the summer, it's more for people who are just in general interested in business, international business, and do not necessarily want to become researchers. They just want to have, maybe start their own companies or work for a good company. And so, as you know, the plan was to have the big one again in Singapore. So this time we were planning to have up to 200 people, and we had everything in place. We booked the venue. If you've seen the movie Crazy Rich Asians, so our opening ceremony was supposed to be in the same hall where in that movie the wedding was taking place. So like we got a really nice venue, and so got everything in place, but then COVID-19 happened, and so obviously we cannot do it now. So far the plan is to reschedule it for the next year, but we'll see how things go. Again, hopefully by that time everything will be back to normal business as usual. Then we also have another symposium scheduled for November, the small one in Panama City in Florida in the United States. So the one in the fall is always in the United States, and the one in the summer, different countries each year. So we've had in the United States, but also Italy, Canada, so Miami before that. So we've had it, Singapore, obviously. And so again, we are not sure if we will be able to do the one in November. So at this time, it looks like it should be better, and we will be able to travel by November, but nobody knows. Some people talk about the second wave. So if that happens, we may have to reschedule that one as well. So we'll see, we'll keep you updated. But generally, again, it's by invitation only, but we always reserve some spots for the younger, for the teenagers. So in Calgary, we had, I believe, a total of 9 teenagers. So out of almost 200 people, we had 9 younger people like you, and then everybody else were university students, usually MBA students or undergraduate students. And so that means that many of you will have a chance to participate. We usually invite more than 10, but not everybody can go because, schedule differences. Some may not simply have the resources to pay for it, but many can attend, and so we will try to provide as many opportunities as possible. But again, unfortunately, at this time, I cannot say when finally we will be back to normal and we'll be able to have those face-to-face meetings. So once we have a more definitive schedule, once we know a little bit more, we will start sending out the invitations and we'll see how things go. One question that comes up all the time when we talk about the symposium is obviously money. Who pays for it? It's complicated. So by default, the participants, the attendees pay for their travel. But we do provide a lot of support trying, getting the money. So we will provide recommendation letters. We will provide letters for the sponsors. We will give you a little bit more information when and where you can apply for the money. And so even though we usually do not provide money directly to any participants, in the end, pretty much everybody who attends the event gets some scholarships from different resources. So some people, for example, in Canada got money from the universities that they attend. Some got money from local sponsors. We had, for example, a few students from Italy who literally went to the mayor of the city. And so we gave them a very nice letter, support letter that was, explaining why this event is important and why these students, should go to it and they need the funding for it. And so they got some money from the city where they live. And then obviously we have some companies that may provide some sponsorship, including the companies that you work for. So in the end, it looks like everybody was getting some money from somewhere. But again, by default, sort of the assumption is that we do not pay for your travel. You have to pay for it yourself, but we will help you raise those funds and hopefully that will work. We even had a few students who ran what we call the Gofundme campaign. So they had this kind of crowdsourcing. And so we had a few students who were able to raise some money that way as well. And we helped them with the promotion. So we'll see how it goes next year. So we'll, as you know, Culture is a nonprofit and we don't really have extra money that we can just give. But we're pretty good when it comes, to figuring out how to do it in a smart way so that people can still get some funding for the trip. And one more thing that I wanted to say about the symposium, the colleges, since we get so many questions from students and so many requests for advice and recommendation letters and, guidance on applying to good colleges, we are also thinking, and so this is not so much an update, but more a question for you. We are thinking about some sort of like a mentorship program maybe, where our professors will volunteer and instead of organizing like general webinars for everybody, maybe we'll sort of mentor specific students. So something that where you will kind of work with a specific professor who will help you with the application process, with the maybe, the application essay, maybe even we think about, finding a way for you to maybe volunteer and help some of our professors as research assistants. So that again, you kind of better understand how this higher education system works, but also that professor can give you a recommendation letter. Obviously, we will give you one from Culture, so we will talk about how, what you did, how good you are, what experiences you gained. But it will be even better if you were able to work for a professor at a good university as a research assistant, maybe help a little bit with the data entry, data processing, maybe, all kinds of types of tasks. But then you can say, even though I'm still a high school student, I already was working with a university professor, helping him or her as a teaching assistant, as a research assistant, and here is his or her recommendation letter. Again, that may look good on your resume and application form, and will signal that you're ready for college because you already kind of did something at the college level. So this way, hopefully you will have a better chance of getting stipends. So, but again, importantly, you know better what kind of help you need. We have literally hundreds of professors in the Culture project, and many of them are willing to provide their time and share their expertise. And so we just need to figure out the most efficient way to do it so that you get the most, the most out of it. So if you have any questions or any suggestions or any requests, let us know and we will definitely try to accommodate it. And I see, Samika, you have a question or comment? Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So I will be applying to the colleges for USA in the fall of 2021. Mm-hmm. And I think the Culture will really help in the Common App, and even the mentorship program and the webinars will also really help me.
And I hope you will consider my university. University of North Carolina is a very good school in a very good location. We don't have big cities in North Carolina. So if you want to be like in New York or Chicago, that's not us. But if you want to be in a nice, quiet, picturesque area with mountains and ocean and good universities, consider North Carolina for your application. But yes, so that's exactly the plan. And even if you have some specific universities in mind, and as I said, over the years, we've had about 500 universities that participated in X-Culture. And in a given semester, like this semester, we had participants from 160, 70 universities, something like that, almost 200 universities. And so maybe even as you are selecting your colleges, maybe we can even connect you with the professors at the specific schools, so you can find out more as to, you know, what they're looking for, what kind of students they want, you know, maybe some specific advice on the programs that you can apply. Again, I don't know much about other universities, but it is the one that I teach at, University of North Carolina, or where I went as a student, University of Texas at Dallas, University of Calgary. I can definitely give you some pointers and some advice as to, you know, would it be a good school for you or not? Maybe connect you with some professors there so that you can maybe find out more, and you know, as you're preparing your application. So as I said, if you have any specific advice and requests and tips on how we can make this mentorship program more effective, please let us know, because we do have enough professors who are willing to invest their time, and we just need to figure out how to do it right, because as I said, all of this is new to us, even though X-Culture has been around for a while, but it's only been a couple of years since we started working with the younger students. And so we're still learning about your needs and also preferences and how to do it best. All right, so we're pretty much out of time. Any final comments, questions, concerns, remarks? Okay, well, thank you so much for participating. With your permission, I will share this recording with the rest of the group, because some attended today, some yesterday, but many people could not attend at all because of the schedule conflicts or whatever other reasons, maybe technical problems. And so hopefully this way they will at least watch the recording. And please do stay in touch. So we will send you that documentation this week, but I hope that will not be the end of it, but the beginning of the next stage. So I hope to see some of you in the coaching program. I hope to see some of you at the future symposia, wherever they take place, the United States, Singapore, or whatever will be the next country or countries. And then when your time comes to apply to colleges, I hope we will be able to provide some help and guidance there as well. And then just simply stay in touch. I mean, one day, many of you will become, I don't know, big shot businessmen, businesswomen, billionaires. And I don't know, remember about us. Maybe, you know, today we're trying to help you. Maybe when you have a huge company that you're on, maybe you'll help us. Maybe you will become an X-Culture client, or maybe even a sponsor. Maybe, you know, you will sponsor a couple of X-Culture kids going to the Singapore, wherever it will be at that time. So, because many of you will become very successful in your lives. I mean, obviously, you're not your average students. People who enroll in X-Culture usually want more. They're more motivated. Usually they do well in school. So if I have to predict, we have what, like 20 people here on this, in this room. I think at least 10 of you will become millionaires, and probably at least 5 of you will become billionaires. Who knows? So, or maybe country leaders, presidents, I don't know, prime ministers. So it's kind of nice to you know, we are trying to help you now, but hopefully you will help the future generations of the X-Culture students when your time comes. All right, thank you so much, and stay in touch. So we will be communicating by email, and then hopefully face-to-face at least with some of you in the future. Bye, guys. Good night for those of you in Asia. Good afternoon, Europe, and have a nice day, those of you in the Americas. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.